rookie contract again. The ones that the year after, they gonna get more. They probably gonna be making more than us.
No, they are.
Who's that?
I'm hurt.
They are. Like, yeah. I've been in the meetings. They are.
I need to get in the. I need to get in the field.
You need to come to the meetings.
I gotta get in the meetings because I'm hearing like, yeah, they don't give us. If y'all don't give us what we want, like, we sitting out.
That's a possibility for real.
Angel Reese just made a bold demand. She said WNBA players might go on strike if they don't get paid more. She called out the league, claiming they deserve better salaries and benefits. But when Patrick Bet-David heard this, he destroyed her argument in seconds. With cold, hard facts, he proved why a strike might be the worst idea in WNBA history. He didn't just disagree, he exposed the shocking truth that no one wants to talk about. The truth about money, business, and why the WNBA is in big trouble. Angel Reese thought she was fighting for fairness, but did she just reveal a huge problem that could sink the league? Stay tuned because what happens next will leave you stunned. First, let's have a look at Angel Reese's controversial strike threat. Angel Reese is frustrated. She just started her WNBA career, but she's already angry about the pay. On a podcast, she made a shocking claim. If we don't get paid what we deserve, we will sit out or strike.
Love watching her highlights of missing shots. She's got to be the worst shooter you've met in your life. But go, Rob, just go, give this feedback. Give this feedback.
That's right. A rookie who hasn't even played a full season just threatened a league-wide strike. And it's not just talk. She's been in meetings. She's been hearing the complaints. And now she says WNBA players are ready to take action. It all comes down to one thing: money. Reese revealed her rookie salary is only $74,000 a year. That might sound like a lot to the average person, but in big cities like Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles, it barely covers rent. This is a huge drop from what she made in college. At LSU, thanks to NIL, name, image, and likeness deals, she was making around $1,800,000 a year. She had sponsorships from Reebok, PlayStation, McDonald's, and Coach. She was a star. But in the WNBA, she's making less than 5% of that. She's not the only one. WNBA players earn just 9.3% of league revenue, while NBA players get 50%. The numbers don't lie. The WNBA brought in $200 million in revenue last year. That might sound impressive until you compare it to the NBA, which made a mind-blowing $5 billion.
Has been vocal about her low WNBA salary, revealing her $74,000 a year salary doesn't cover rent, stating on Instagram Live, "I just hope you know that the WNBA doesn't pay my bills at all. I don't even think they pay one of my bills." Reese's financial struggles stem from WNBA salary not matching her past earnings, as her NIL valuation at LSU was $1.8 million, bolstered by deals with Reebok, PlayStation, McDonald's, and Coach, while a 4-year rookie deal was
$300 million. Reese and other WNBA players believe they should be paid more. They say they work just as hard as NBA players. They say the league is growing. They want a bigger cut. But the question is, does the WNBA even have enough money to pay them more? That's exactly what Patrick Bet-David is about to expose, and his answer? It changes everything. Patrick Bet-David couldn't believe what he was hearing. A rookie who hasn't even played a full season is already threatening a strike? He shook his head in disbelief. Then, he did what he did best. He tore her argument apart with facts. How can you demand more money when the league is already losing $50 million a year? He asked. His voice was sharp, almost amused, as if he couldn't understand how someone could make such a bold claim without looking at the numbers. Patrick explained the basic rule of business. If a company is losing money, it can't afford to give raises. In fact, when a company is failing, it usually means pay cuts, layoffs, or even shutting down entirely. But here was Angel Reese, acting like the WNBA had billions just sitting around, waiting to be handed out. Then Patrick hit the WNBA players with the harshest truth of all. The only reason they still have jobs? The NBA is keeping them alive. The WNBA has never been profitable, not for a single year since its launch in 1997. Every season it loses tens of millions of dollars. The only thing stopping it from going bankrupt? The NBA's financial support.
$1 billion out of revenue last season, only allocated 9.3% to salaries, unlike the NBA's 50% share of the $5.3 billion in 2023.
Patrick looked straight into the camera. What happens if the NBA stops funding the WNBA, he asked. His answer was brutal. The league collapses overnight. Angel Reese and her teammates want a bigger share of WNBA revenue. But Patrick pointed out a massive flaw in their argument. The WNBA players receive 9.3% of league revenue, while NBA players take home 50%. On the surface, that seems unfair. But then Patrick revealed the real problem. You can't can't demand a bigger slice of a pie that doesn't exist. The NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL have all had players' strikes in the past, but those leagues were making billions. The players weren't struggling for survival, they were negotiating from a position of power. They knew the league could afford to pay them more. The WNBA, it's fighting just to stay afloat. The players aren't arguing over how to split billions, they're begging for more money from a league that's already drowning in debt, and the numbers prove it. Patrick didn't stop there, he pulled up the real numbers, and what he revealed left everyone in the room speechless. The NFL makes a jaw-dropping $17 billion a year. The NBA and MLB each bring in around $11 billion. The NHL, even as a smaller league, still generates $7 billion. Then he turned to the WNBA. $150 million. The room went quiet. That's not just small, that's tiny.
1994, the MLB strike. It was the first time that the World Series was canceled.
I remember.
You remember that? In 1998, the NBA went on strike.
Then, Patrick dropped the biggest bombshell. Even with $150 million in revenue, the WNBA still loses money. Every single year, the league bleeds millions of dollars. In fact, the situation is getting worse. Last year, the WNBA lost $40 million. This year, the losses are expected to hit $50 million. Despite more attention, more media coverage, and even a 48% increase in attendance, the league still can't turn a profit. Patrick leaned back in his chair. Then, he said what no one else was willing to admit. The WNBA, he said, is a zombie company. A zombie company is a business that should be dead but somehow keeps going. It doesn't grow, it doesn't make money, it just survives on life support. And for the WNBA, that life support is the NBA's bank account. Then Patrick took things even further. If the WNBA players really did go on strike, would it hurt the league or would it actually help it? He turned to his team and asked a simple but devastating question. Does the WNBA make money when they don't play? The answer, yes. When WNBA players sit out, the league saves money. It doesn't have to pay for games, travel, security, or staff. Since they already lose money every year, a strike might actually help them lose less.
Go on strike. In 1994, MLB, NBA, NFL, what's the number one revenue sport in America? What do you think it is? The NFL. How much do you think they make? $17 billion. The NBA, a little over $11 billion.
Patrick couldn't help but laugh. You guys are threatening a strike, he said, shaking his head. But if you do, you might actually be doing the NBA a favor. The truth was brutal. And now, thanks to Patrick, the whole world knew it. Patrick Bet David had already exposed the money problem in the WNBA. But now, he turned to something just as explosive, the growing tension between NBA and WNBA players. For years, NBA stars have supported the WNBA. They've shown up to games, promoted players, and even worn WNBA merch. Some of them, like LeBron James and Steph Curry, have spoken out about the growth of the women's game. But now, there's frustration building. It all started when WNBA legend Lisa Leslie suggested that NBA players should help fund higher WNBA salaries. In an interview, she said, maybe one night y'all don't go to the casino. She was implying that NBA stars who make millions could donate to help WNBA players get better pay. Patrick couldn't believe it. You're asking NBA players to donate their money? The same NBA players who already keep the WNBA alive? He shook his head. That's crazy. Patrick wasn't the only one who thought this was ridiculous. Draymond Green, a four-time NBA champion, was furious.
$1 million company. You're operating at a loss every single year. You've never made money. It's called a zombie company.
It pisses me off, Draymond said. No one supports the WNBA more than NBA players, more than we probably support the NBA itself, and now you're saying we should give more? He wasn't wrong. Every year the NBA pumps millions of dollars into the WNBA just to keep it from shutting down. Without that money, the league wouldn't exist, and yet WNBA players still feel like they're not getting enough. Patrick broke it down simply. The NBA is a business. It makes billions because people watch, people buy tickets, and people buy jerseys. The WNBA, it loses money because not enough people care. That's the truth. And that's exactly why the WNBA is struggling. But not everyone is ignoring women's basketball. In fact, one player is bringing in more fans than ever before. And surprisingly, not everyone in the WNBA is happy about it. Caitlin Clark is the biggest thing to ever happen to women's basketball. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact. fact. Her games in college shattered viewership records. When she was drafted into the WNBA, ticket sales for the Indiana Fever skyrocketed. Suddenly, arenas that were half empty for years were completely sold out.
Games do they play?
80?
40.
Damn it.
Who won the championship this year and who played in the finals?
The Florida Magics.
Nope, the New York Liberty beat the Minnesota.
The numbers don't lie. Attendance jumped 48% last season, the biggest increase in WNBA history. TV ratings exploded. Her games were pulling in over 1 million viewers per game. Merchandise sales for the WNBA went up 601% in 1 year. And all of this because of Caitlin Clark. Patrick pointed out something shocking. Caitlin Clark is keeping the WNBA alive. If you're in the WNBA right now, he said, you better pray Caitlin Clark doesn't get injured because she's the only reason anyone is paying attention. But instead of embracing Clark, some WNBA players seem jealous. Instead of celebrating her success, they're pushing back against her popularity. Some veterans don't like how much attention Clark is getting. They don't like that she's being treated as the face of the league before she's even played a full season. And instead of supporting her, some players are acting like she's a threat.
To the NBA, but I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, we could just take a donation around the NBA. Maybe one night y'all don't go to the casino.
Patrick didn't hold back. This should be a golden opportunity for the WNBA, he said. Clark is bringing in more money, more fans, and more media attention than ever before. But instead of lifting her up, some players are acting like she's the enemy. And that attitude, it's dangerous. Because right now, Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's the WNBA's lifeline. And if the league doesn't figure that out soon, they might lose the one thing keeping them from collapsing. The WNBA is at a crossroads. Angel Reese and other players want more money and better benefits. They believe they deserve the same kind of pay as NBA stars. But Patrick Bet-David just exposed a harsh reality. The WNBA is losing money every year. It doesn't have billions to hand out. It barely has enough to survive. So what happens now? Will Angel Reese and other WNBA players actually go on strike? And if they do, what would it mean for the league? Patrick made one thing clear. A strike would be a disaster. The WNBA already depends on the NBA to stay afloat. If players refuse to play, the league won't be able to bring in ticket sales, TV revenue, or sponsorship money. Instead of forcing owners to pay them more, WNBA players could push the league closer to shutting down. But the NBA might actually save money if the WNBA goes on strike. Patrick revealed a shocking fact. When WNBA games aren't played, the league loses less money. That's because it costs millions to pay players, rent arenas, and run operations. If the WNBA stopped playing altogether, the NBA wouldn't have to keep bailing them out every year. So what's the real solution? Patrick believes the WNBA has to fix its business model first. It needs to increase revenue, attract bigger sponsors, and actually turn a profit. Players like Angel Reese can fight for better pay, but until the league makes money, there's nothing to fight for.
What I'll also say is this: every single one of you WNBA players, you better pray that Caitlin Clark doesn't get injured, because she's keeping your league up.
And then there's Caitlin Clark. Right now, she's the only thing keeping the WNBA in the spotlight. Attendance is up, TV ratings are breaking records, merchandise sales have exploded, and yet, instead of embracing her, some WNBA players seem frustrated by her success. Patrick made it clear, the WNBA has a choice. They can use Caitlin Clark's star power to grow the league, bringing in new fans and money, or they can keep complaining about salaries and ignore the one player making a difference. One path leads to growth, the other leads to a league that may not survive much longer. So the real question isn't just about Angel Reese or Patrick Bet-David or even the NBA. The question is, how much longer can the WNBA survive before it has to face the truth? Share your thoughts in the comments.